So I was making a video and then my laptop froze. Come here. Anyway, I was talking about certain things and I'm thinking maybe I needed to rephrase it. So the point is, when people talk about race or they talk about gender or they talk about anything that has to do with your outward appearance, um, I've brought up meat suits before. I say that, you shouldn't judge people by your meat suit. This is the meat suit I'm wearing for my time in this life on this earth. And that's not who I am. And I don't understand why anybody would want to be judged by their meat suit or to judge other people by their meat suit. Now, I'm not saying people don't find people attractive or, like curly hair or straight hair. I'm not talking about that really, because everybody has likes and dislikes. But I'm saying when you think you can judge a person based on, if they're white or black or male or female or fat or thin or tall or short, or you're making judgments of a person's quality as a human being based on their meat suit. Even if you're judging yourself, to me that's wrong and that's not fair, because you didn't choose to look the way you do. And even if you can choose, it's still, you're never going to, if you get a bunch of plastic surgery, you're never going to match your outsides with your insides. It's two different things. The meat suit you're walking around in, it can affect, how your life goes, and, if people treat you in certain ways, that can have an effect on your personality and how you accept it or reject it or whatever. But in the end, that's not who you are. Yeah, it's your body. That's not who you are. So, like I said, I don't want anything to do with race. There's a race thing going on right now on Twitter because Bill Maher had Megyn Kelly on, and I didn't watch it on HBO. I don't have HBO, but I saw the clip on YouTube, and she was talking about the education her young kid was getting in school, and it seemed outrageous to her. It seems outrageous to me. And then on Twitter, everybody's hating Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly because they have no business talking about that. One girl said that they weren't qualified to talk about it. It's the education her kid's getting from someone else. She should have the right to talk about that. I believe everybody's qualified to talk about. Anybody can talk about anything. That's the thing. As the days go on, people armed with their Twitter accounts are becoming more and more fascist, telling people what they can and can't say and what they can and can't think, what they can talk about. You don't have the right to talk about that. You don't have the right to comment. I already said that I was told those kinds of things based on the fact that of my gender, on a movie message board, So, my thing is, like I said, growing up, I'm one of the lighter people in my family. And if I heard anything growing up, it was about people acting white or white people can't dance or stuff like that. And at some point, I just realized how ridiculous it was, because I was supposed to think those things too. It was kind of like, you know what? I mean, like I said, technically speaking, I'm supposed to be mixed race or biracial or whatever. Starting from a very young age, when you had a form or SAT test or anything like that, I was like, no, I'm putting other, because I think this is stupid. I don't want to put myself into one of these boxes. It has nothing to do with me. Again, meat suit, I'm sorry. It's stupid. I don't like it. I don't want it. So, actually, when I moved to New York, people thought I was Puerto Rican, which I'm not at all. I'm not Hispanic at all. At all. But this is what I'm saying. So people look at you and they think that and they want to judge you that way. That's their problem. If you play into that, that's your problem. If you think about race all day, that makes you a racist. I don't care what race you are. If you are thinking of yourself as a race instead of a human being, and you're thinking about your difference from other races, and you're being racist against yourself, then you're going to do that to everybody else. So I don't really see how a person can be racist unless they sit there and they judge themselves based on race. When the first, I mean, like I said, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. That was a time when everybody was supposed to get along. You know, people weren't supposed to be talking about that stuff. But if they did, it was just little things here and here about stereotypes or jokes or stuff like that. I didn't hear a lot of racist stuff growing up at all. You know what I mean? Even if you watched, you know, All in the Family, Archie Bunker, he was prejudiced, he wasn't racist, he said weird things, and you're like, oh, whatever. You know, nobody lost their minds, and, you know, it was a very popular TV show, and everybody liked the guy, not because they're like, yeah, he's a racist, and I'm a racist too. No. It was because human beings do all kinds of weird crap. And you just say, oh yeah, people are like that, and you move on. And nobody hated anybody. And, you know, so to me, everything was fine. I didn't really feel like people said things, but I didn't feel like things were bad or anybody hated anybody else. Or I thought, if anything, as time went on, people talked less and less about that stuff. So then when I was in college, or when I was living in New York in the 90s and stuff, I started hearing about people needing to have Barbies that were of different races, you know. I know she had a friend at one point that wasn't white, but they needed to have different race Barbies, and I was like, but Barbie's a white girl. What's the problem? I don't understand. You know, I had one Barbie, I've said this before, and her hair got tangled, and I was like, well, that's the end of her, so she was naked in a box somewhere. I didn't even care about her anymore. You know, and I did not sit around trying to be Barbie or looking up to Barbie because she was a piece of plastic about this big. Why am I going to look up to plastic? But people started to say they needed a Barbie who looked like them, and I said, I probably didn't say the word narcissist back then, but if you need a doll that looks like you, doesn't that mean you're the racist against Barbie? Anyway, so then I started hearing that from smarter people on talk shows saying they needed representation. They needed somebody who looked like them in order to succeed, or in order to become a doctor, they needed to see a doctor who looked like them. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense to me, because again, you're judging not only other people but yourself based on race. You're looking in the mirror and you're saying to yourself that there's something wrong with you based on what you look like, based on your skin color. I don't know who taught you to do that, but I didn't grow up with people thinking that. I didn't grow up with people thinking they needed a different color Barbie. I didn't grow up around people who said, I can't do that job, or I can't have that career, or I can't win that gold medal. I didn't hear people saying they couldn't do something, they couldn't become president or anything because somebody who looked like them hadn't already done it. You know, I said in another video that when I watched movies and stuff, I would look up to Luke Skywalker or whoever. I didn't care. I didn't say, oh, he's a boy, I'm a girl, I can't be a Jedi. No, I never even thought things like that. I didn't think it had anything to do with his gender or my gender or anybody's gender. Some people are doctors, some people are Jedi, some people, win Olympic gold medals, some people become presidents, some people become astronauts. I didn't say, oh, I can't do that because somebody who looked like me hasn't already done it, or I need somebody who looks like me to be an inspiration. Now you're being a racist against all these people who don't look like you, who've had accomplishments. And it's all based on this outer shell. Like I said, the meat suit that we get when we're born here. I don't know where we come from. I don't know if we're interplanetary beings. I don't know if we're these beautiful souls that come from the ether to come to the earth school and learn whatever. But whoever we are, it's not our meat suit. So that's why when people judge themselves or they say all these things, I can't this, I can't that, because, oh, I need somebody who looks like me in order to become successful, or all these little girls in my class, they get so upset because they don't see somebody who looks like them on television. It's like, who's teaching them to look for themselves on TV? Who's teaching them that when they look in the mirror, that person obviously can't be anything if they don't see it? Why do they need to see it? Everything is what you see. Everything is how things look. That's making everything completely basic, and you're making yourself be a shallow person by just judging a book by its cover. You're judging yourself by your cover, and when you do that, you will judge everyone else by their cover, and then you're a racist against them, and you're a racist against yourself. And I don't think you can be a racist against other people unless you're judging your own self as a race. You're saying, I am my meat suit. You know, your feelings, your emotions, and who you are and what you think. For some reason, that's not who you think you are. You think you're the meat suit. If you're that worried about other people judging your meat suit, you're probably judging other people's meat suit first. So, if you're concerned that your little girl's not going to see somebody who looks like her, you're being racist against your own kid, even if the kid looks like you, because you're being racist against yourself. All this race crap is bullshit. If you're looking at yourself, if you're looking at other people, if you're judging them, if you want people to be less white, or whatever the hell is going on with those 8 different kinds of white. I mean, I don't know what this shit is. I never heard of it before. Like I said, I consider myself old, 47, and I'm just like, where's all this new stupidity coming from? But if you think about race all day, if you're worried about what your race is and what other people's races are, you are the racist. If you get up and you live your life and you're not concerned with race all day, you're not a racist. But everybody out there spending all day race this, race that, telling people how they must behave based on their race and how it's ridiculous. It's all a bunch of bullshit. I don't know what moronic faction in the back of, behind the scenes keeps putting these agendas out there that are making everybody stupider and more simplistic and downright dumb, and taking you from complex human beings who understand the nature of the human condition, and that every person is a special snowflake because everybody is an individual. And if you keep doing this race stuff and group stuff and gender stuff, you're just separating yourself first, so that you then can go and separate everybody else and categorize everybody else and put people into little boxes so that you don't have to get to know them, probably so you don't have to get to know yourself, because God forbid, what if you don't live up to your standards? So you want to make it about these things, and maybe you'll go get some plastic surgery, which I've always been against that. My favorite episode of The Twilight Zone was number 8, Looks Just Like You. This woman, well, she's a kid still. She's like supposed to be, it's going to be her 16th birthday. And in this other planet or wherever she lives, or in the future, when you get to 16, you choose what you want to look like. You go, there's different models of the perfect looking people, and you get to pick one. And she's 16, and she's like, no, I want to stay ugly. And they're like, oh my God, they make her go to a psychiatrist. Just try to figure out what is wrong with you. Why don't you want it? You have to pick, just get over it and pick one of these beautiful versions of yourself. And she's like, no, I want to be ugly. I'm not telling you what happens at the end, but that was my favorite episode, because again, your outward appearance is not who you are. Does it matter? Like I said, it will influence your life. The way people treat you will influence your life. But if you got that meat suit plus your personality, maybe you were given that meat suit because that's the life you're supposed to live, and that's the lesson you're supposed to learn, and that's the kind of gender you're supposed to be, and that's the kind of race you're supposed to be, to learn something. Did you ever see Cloud Atlas? I saw Cloud Atlas. That's why when people, and people try to call it racist because they didn't watch the movie, the point is, your soul, your spirit exists outside of this body. It came from somewhere. It's going to go somewhere else later on after you're dead. Okay? That is who you are. All this other stuff is window dressing. You know, why people are getting more and more bogged down with the meat suit and how we look and trying to change ourselves to please other people, or trying to change our outward body to be treated as the way people with that kind of body will be treated. I feel like you're skipping your evolution as a soul. You're dodging your life purpose. You are bowing down to the lowest common denominator, or you're not raising yourself up from being the lowest common denominator, which are simple, basic, shallow, materialistic animals. You're part animal and part spirit. If the spirit isn't the part you're caring about, you're just the meat suit, the animal part of human, the part that isn't that much different from the stuff in the meat counter at the grocery store. If you look at yourself that way, you're going to look at other people that way. You're not going to get to know anybody. You're not going to get to know yourself. And you're going to waste your whole life. And you're not going to learn anything. And don't judge yourself. And don't judge other people on this stupidity. Racist stupidity. Giving any kind of value to your outward appearance over who you are inside. You're doing that to yourself. And then, of course, you will in turn do it to others. You can't do that to other people if you're not doing it to yourself. So don't do that to yourself. Try to be a good person and stop worrying about the damn meat suit.